I did enjoy this season, I think, a lot more than was
Then I thought I
anticipating.
would.
Yeah, and there are it's not bad by any means, I don't think. Like it definitely is not even close to like the worst. Like I've seen some people describing it as like worse than the 2010 movie, which like I can't imagine that is the case.
Like, calm down. Let's calm down now.
Yeah,
Let's,
like
I
it's
get
not
it.
there.
It's not the original. It's
Uh-huh.
not going to be the original.
Yeah.
I think this, the service that this provides is, I think it's a way to get a Western audience maybe into the animation. It's a way to be like, hey, this is a viable medium. See how the story is so cool. But I think a big thing about a Western audience is that they, you know, they look down on it. They call it cartoons. They won't watch it otherwise. And maybe seeing these live actions, they're like, oh, maybe this story is actually really good and not just for kids and it's a cartoon.
Yeah, and I think it's nice that it feels like we're kind of moving away from that some, which is good. That like more and more people are like, oh no, the animation rocks actually, because it does.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I don't remember. I saw some numbers about it recently, but I know this was like number one in like 73 countries or something, like over the weekend, which is not surprising at all. I'm sure that literally everyone was watching it, which is good. And so like we'll just get more fans of the series in the world, which is exciting and you know a great thing to see. I just hope that they really up it for the next season, and you know it's able to like fix some of the writing stuff, which again though is going to be interesting because of the way they decided to pull things from book two and put them in here, and how they decided to like mix and match with the arcs and all of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of the things though that I did think were really great. I loved Boomy a lot, actually.
So I disagree with you.
Yeah, I know, and so that's why I'm excited to get into that specifically, because I think that and this kind of goes back to me not being a huge fan of like goofball comedy type stuff as much.
Okay,
so like I don't really like Boomy that much in the original series. Like he's fun, but I'm like, yeah,
canceled.
Okay.
I'm canceling you.
But in this, I really loved the fact that, and at the time in the season 2, like for episodes 3 and 4, he really shows up in 4 more, I think.
Yeah.
They at that point were really hammering home how all of the characters were the way that they were and were jaded or damaged or whatever in different ways because of this war that's been going on for 100 years. And I think that it was a really smart choice to have Boomy. I think this was one of the examples of them. You could kind of read it as them over explaining a little bit, because he does go on a bit of a monologue in the middle of the arena, like, and saying stuff. But I think that one was actually done pretty well, where like I liked the contrast of him being like, I've had to deal with this war for 100 years and you weren't here. Like you're a kid still and you haven't had to deal with any of this. Like I've had to be dealing with real problems and some very bad problems, and this is hard, bro. And I liked that for him. I thought that was cool. And they had been doing that with a lot of the other characters too. Like Jet is another one where they explore the kind of angles
of
war.
Let's talk about Jet. Let's talk about Jet.
Yeah. So like he's good. What did you think about Jet? I know you have thoughts.
What's the actor's name? Sebastian Amoruso. My DMs are open. You can hit me up. I'm available, free any day for you, baby. Wow, I loved. That was the perfect actor. He was so good. I don't know if it was the glass of wine I was drinking while watching this, but I was blushing, kicking my feet. I understood Katara in that moment, and I crack up because watching this, I was like, you know what? We all got to get played by the really cute guy. It's just a rite of passage. It's just a rite of passage. He was a great actor. I loved actually what they did with the freedom fighters. I thought they were all perfect casting. It was so adorable. And I wish there was more, but I get it. That was the perfect time. I think they touched on it perfectly. But there was the bit of the Mechanist. I thought that was interesting. That was an interesting way to tie it all in.
Yeah. I liked that plot, actually. I think that the episode 3 and 4, and again, this is something where they combined a lot of stuff, but I really enjoyed that as like an in a vacuum thing. I thought that was a good like storytelling thing with the spy and you know them dealing with all the stuff in Umashu. I thought that worked really well for those 2 episodes and was cool.
Like that's the lesson of Jet. Not everything is as it seems, and not everything is black and white.
Yeah,
and
which is
that
great. Yeah. But yeah, that was cool. Like, but again, another thing that kind of happened though with the show is that they were exploring those themes, and then I feel like they kind of sort of lost focus on that after those 4 episodes.
It was all right there, and then they just dropped it.
Yeah, which is
I think that's the biggest part. Yes.
Yeah, like they were so close a lot of the time. Like the first
it was right
half
there.
of the season, like I thought that the pilot was kind of rough a little bit. It was enjoyable, but it was a little rough around the edges. And then I thought it was like a steady incline through episodes like 2 through 4, and then just kind of dove after there. Yeah, and I was like, you were so close, you had it, and then you just literally lost the plot. Like
the first 4 episodes, I was having a party. I was like, you know what? Is it groundbreaking? Is it cinema? No.
Yeah.
Am I entertained? Yeah.
100%.
I'm entertained.
Yeah, and then the rest of it just started getting like really head scratching, and
like honestly, I was like, I'm bored. Like it's getting. I hate to use that word, but that sounds so...
It was like I don't know. There's a lot there, but
they tried to make it too Game of Thronesy. I think they try to lean into that. I think they really tried to please that audience or get that audience, and I think that doesn't make sense. That's the biggest mistake, I think.
Yeah, that's not what Avatar was or is or like should be trying to be. It's not. You're not going to hit. And also, like, no offense to any other show, but like no other show is going to be Game of Thrones, right?
No other
like,
show's going to be Game of Thrones.
And that's a whole other. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you shouldn't try to like shoot for that. You should try to be your thing, and especially when your thing is Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of the most beloved, and everyone is like, oh, this is great. Like just roll into that, right into that. Like you got it. It's right there. You have the
and it's like I think that's when they lost the audience, is when they tried, when you can feel them trying to please a certain type of person, that people can tell it's off-putting. Audiences are smart. They will get it. Trust us.
Yeah.
Stop. If you treat us like we're stupid, then we're going to stop watching.
Yeah.
And
we say as we finish the whole thing.
As we finish the whole thing. As I did watch the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was fun though. I enjoyed it for the most part, but it's there's some stuff there. And I think the decisions for combining things and taking from the later things was maybe it just comes down to that runtime thing where they had it was longer than the animated season 1 was technically.
Like they elongated a lot of things that did not need to be elongated, and they shortened or walked right over things that I was like, oh, you could have spent more time on that. But a lot of things, these conversations just kept going on and rambling. And I was like, okay, we could have gotten that in like one sentence. I remember I was rewatching the finale, and there's the whole thing when Zuko, what was it? Is it when he kidnaps the Avatar? But there's this whole sequence, explains so much. It happens I timed it in under 30 seconds. And I was like, you could have had that in there. It happens in under 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Like you don't need to make everything this emotional scene. And if every scene is this emotional monologue scene with like these deep conversations, if the whole thing is that, then none of it is.
Yeah, because you lose that. It
doesn't make anything special.
Yeah, because you're just hitting the same. It's like we were talking about earlier, where it feels like you're hitting the same notes over and over again, as opposed to getting a really like the highs and lows of the journey that they're going on. And it's also one of those things where I was legitimately, I think they might have mentioned it in like the pilot, maybe, where they mentioned that Aang needs to like learn waterbending, but literally there's 5 minutes left in the finale before I think I want to be like I want to say that I remember them mentioning that like he'll have to learn waterbending in the pilot. I don't even know, can't remember for sure if that's there, but I do know that like 5 minutes left in the finale, they're like, he's like, yeah, I still need to learn waterbending. And dude,
we're like, dude, you're here.
That's supposed to be the whole point of book 1, is him like being like, I need to learn waterbending, and we just don't get any of that.
And he doesn't teaches Katara waterbending. So
yeah,
he's like, there's parts where he's teaching Katara where I'm like, that's not.
Yeah.
The point of their relationship is that she's his master, like she's his waterbending master, like becomes that ultimately, and then
like she also has to learn that, which is a whole other thing where it feels like she just kind of got an instant level up because the show needed her to be able to do combat on that level. And so at one point she's like struggling really hard to do stuff, and in the next second she's throwing ice discs at people.
The ice discs. I was like, where did that come from?